Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Dublin Tech Talks, as always brought to you in association with Icon Accounting. On today's show, we're going to talk with University Limerick's lecturers, Professor Tiziana Margaria and JJ Collins, about UL's new immersive software engineering program that will put students in residencies with some of the biggest and best companies in Ireland. It's going to be supported by agencies such as the IDA, Enterprise Ireland, and tech-focused venture capital firm Frontline Ventures. Welcome to the show, guys. Tiziana, do you want to introduce yourself, and then JJ?
Yes, so I'm a full professor of software engineering in the Computer Science and Information Systems department in UL. And at the same time, I'm also a researcher and a principal investigator on a number of SFI-funded research centers in Ireland. So education and research on both sides.
I lecture software architecture and machine learning in the Department of Computer Science and Information Systems at UL. Within immersive software engineering, I have the role of head of residencies, and my other role is I'm course director for computing in UL.
Brilliant. Thanks for introducing yourself. So I reached out to you guys. I'd obviously seen the announcement about the immersive program. It's something that I've been involved in the technology industry for about 15 years. It's something from day one I've heard people talk about, and it's brilliant to see that it's actually happening. Do you want to maybe tell us what an immersive program is and where it's come from, and kind of how long it's actually taken to get to where it is today?
Okay, so in my role as a co-director of the program and course director formally, this has been already a 2 years quest for the right format and the right contents. The question has come actually from giving us once in a question from industry, the freedom to ask the question, how could you fundamentally change the computer science education experience for the students, and in such a way that it makes a difference also for the companies? So this basically came to us, to Stephen, JJ, and myself, as a quest for relevance. So the why, okay? How can we make the education of the students more relevant for the companies? How can we make the relevance of software engineering and computer science in general clearer to the society at large? Because we think that it is still underrepresented in terms of, one of the great professions that can be undertaken in the society at large. And then also going down to the individual, change the relevance of what is taught to the students at any time in their educational and professional path. So the principle is actually to turn everything around on the head, so to say. Start with a problem, start with a challenge, solve it by learning the principles, the methods and the techniques, and then evaluate.
Brilliant. And I've mentioned before, I was one of the look left, look right, you'll never see this person again in DCU back in 01. And a course like this, as I was doing some research about it, it's about 3,000 direct ICT graduates back when the last stats were released, and about 8,000, I'd say, actual between science, technology, and maths graduates that come out per year. And that's not that many people if we look at the environment that Ireland has at the moment, and especially with recent job announcements. I think it's about 2,000 jobs have been announced in the last 4 months. Obviously, this course now won't affect that. But JJ, what do you see as the kind of advantage this course will have down the line, and how this will change the teaching practices that have been probably around a bit too long?
Well, there are a number of key innovations that we've introduced, and they're going to be transformative, and they're going to be a paradigm shift in computer science education. So just briefly to list them, number one, we've residencies. This is a key innovation. We'll talk a bit more about this later. It's accelerated, so you graduate with an MSc after 4 years. And we do that by, it's a 40-week intensive academic calendar. Third principle is studio-based. So when you're on campus, you're not going to be in large lecture theaters with somebody like me standing at the top of the room talking away. You're going to be in studio-based environments, working in teams. You learn by doing, problem-based learning, and you're working on real-world thorny problems. And these studios become hothouses of creativity and innovation. The fourth is block-based teaching when on campus, and this is different to the typical undergraduate experience where in a semester you are studying 5 subjects that are loosely related. Here we have one subject, it's a block, and covering a variety of topics that are tied together through in overarching projects with industry relevance, and finally integrated teaching and research tracks.
Okay, and I'll ask the stupid question. Why does this benefit the teaching in this method and teaching in smaller classes? I think logically we can all know why it benefits, but what's the research say behind it? Does it create a more open environment, a more kind of inclusive environment, to open up the environment to the STEM environment and bring more people into a perceived closed technology function? Is that the research behind?
Yes, so the evidence is that smaller groups and more purposeful, arrangement of the entire student experience, the discovery experience, the channeling of the curiosity to attack, tough problems, challenge problems, or problems that are tough for the students at that point. Okay, so that there is a continuous quest for curiosity and for ingenuity in a certain sense in facing solutions. That's very important. So it is the entire research behind computational thinking, for example, that's very strong in pedagogy, starting from K to 12 and going towards continuing education as well, which is basically connected with problem solving. So the quest for us is to find, in collaboration with partner companies, in collaboration with research centers, and with also proposals from the students themselves, projects and problems that are tough, that are challenging, that basically force the students to go and find the tools, the methods, the principles that they need to understand in order to master them and be able collaboratively to solve those projects. So it is a much more team-based, collaborative approach than the, let's say, mostly individual or in small groups based experience that students have normally. Okay, and we think that this is going to be also a culture change in the way computer science is taught. And to be honest, actually back to the roots in a certain sense, because we used to have, labs. I mean, my friends in Berkeley and in Stanford and so on, they almost used to live in the lab when they had projects. I mean, we don't want to go to those excesses, but the point is really driven by the curiosity of the students, have a completely different level of participation. And this is, in our opinion, also what can change, let's say, the perception of the role that this profession has in society and in education.
And in relation to what's being taught, is it going to be one course fits all, or is it going to be, will there be a product element of it? Will there be a SaaS element? Will there be a information or like a cloud aspect of it, or what way is it going to be? Is it going to be you do one general year and then you specialize, or what way is it? Or is it going to be led specifically by the industry or by the students or by the college?
Well, the variability comes in through the residencies. So there are 5 residencies, and the first kicks in at the end of year 1. And just a bit of background in residencies. If we look at, say, medical education, nursing and physiotherapy education, teacher education, they do residency or professional practice where they go out into the real world, work at the cold face and put the theory into practice. And we want to adopt that in computer science education. So each of our 5 residencies has discipline-specific learning outcomes. If you think about trainee doctors, if they do a surgical residency, they're expected to do an appendectomy. If they do an orthopedic residency, expected to have done a hip replacement, I assume. So likewise, we have, each of the residencies have a different focus. The first residency is on software engineering, DevOps tool chains, embedding into agile teams and working on real-world enterprise systems. We have a residency in software architecture, residency on UX with customer focus, etc. So because of the variety of residency hosts that we have, these provide multiple pathways where your students can get an opportunity to focus on what grabs their attention, what lights their fire. And that's the main way we're going to support this variability. But within each block on campus, students will have the opportunity to select projects that are of interest to them that are sponsored by industry, for example. And this is another way to introduce this idea of customization.
And additionally to this, the fact that they are going to work in groups, there are going to be different roles in the teams, and therefore, you know, people could basically implicitly specialized on being the UI UX person or the database person or the analytics person or the project management person, expert, also by, you know, just playing this role in more cases during their 4 years with us.
Okay. And, you know, there's perceived that ICT or engineering is a high dropout rate. They say that the higher authority released stats back, they're 2014-15, that 1 in 6 were dropping out of courses, but the majority seem to have been in a maths, engineering, or computers environment. Do you feel this will reverse that trend? Because, you know, it's not just a CAO points application process. Do you feel, you know, things that you've done in the past to reduce that dropout rate, you'll bring into this course, and how you get into the course will be seen as the kind of the real turning point?
So,
well,
shall I take that, Tiziana? As part of the admissions process, we require students or potential students to submit a portfolio. This is to demonstrate curiosity, creativity, outreach, for example, within their community, and also that they have a logical or structured approach. And this is a mechanism for which we connect with the students and have conversations with them about what's involved in immersive software engineering. So they're making an informed decision when they're selecting this as the CEO. Secondly, within UL, we have a track record of innovative programs to support transition from second level to third level. And we currently have one called Making the Leap, a pathway to success in UL, and this has significantly enhanced progression and retention rates. And the third is the fact that we now have computer science as a leaving cert subject. Granted that still not available in the majority of schools, but we're making pathways into that. So the combination of those three will address that particular problem.
Okay. Tiziana, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, so we have had experiences in the past years. I mean, I'm teaching first year. JJ is the course director. I was head of department for 5 years before this new year started. We have seen that whenever we have had more integration in the group, in the team, so to say, in the cohort, when we have had shorter blocks focused on some specific subjects, this has actually brought a positive, output on the user, on the student experience, and also on the outcomes. And so, going to ISE basically standardizes that way of doing education, and creating a spirit of group, a spirit of cohort, instead of the large classes that are more common right now.
This isn't a new idea. There's other courses around the globe that have kind of adopted this. Why has Ireland taken its time to adapt or change? Has it needed people like yourselves and the industry to evolve, kind of to mature a little bit more for to have enough strength and voice to be able to say this needs to change? Or has it just been an evolution of how education with EdTech coming more to the fore? Has it been a combination of all, or why have we been so slow to adapt? That might be the easiest way to ask it.
Well, to a good extent, it is also a matter of funding what you can afford, because this way of doing things is, of course, much more intensive. We are going to have a student to teacher ratio that is going to be very different from, let's say, the traditional HEA funded courses. And I mean, we must be honest, the companies are here playing a completely different role, in the sense that they are co-investors, okay, in the financing of the, and significant ones, with philanthropy and with the residencies program, so to say. They are basically members of the village that creates the ISE program. This is very difficult to serialize, under the normal existing funding conditions. So this is definitely one of the dimensions in which this is different.
Just to add to that as well, that what we have in immersive software engineering is unique in a worldwide context. So we mentioned Holland and Canada, and they have elements of this, but not the totality of it. So I think what we have here is a unique proposition. We want students to have great fun, have great experience through their 4 years, and when they graduate, they have effectively 2 years experience in real world settings, working on real world problems.
Yeah, and you know, that's what is needed. Our business want. You know, you can see why certain businesses are investing now with the foresight of 6 years down the road. Like it's not a shot in the arm straight away for what we're doing. But do you feel that the evolution of edtech will allow this to be, you know, on more availability of online code courses, or just even the acceptance of video, that the course can reach out to more people, and it's not just Tiziana, you mentioned about the student lecturer ratio. You know, this is going to not be a 3,000 person course where everybody qualifies from. So the numbers are still going to be pretty limited. You know, do you feel this can adapt and grow, or what way will this kind of evolve?
Well, the evolution, so to say, of edtech, of course, and also the the last 1 year or more, so to say, we have gone through, has changed the reality of education and the perception of what is acceptable and what the level of goodness, so to say, the level of quality at which we are working, all of us. So definitely it is going to be easier for ISE and for other courses, in particular for ISE. I mean, I'm interested in that one at the moment, to actually include elements of mentorship, elements of education, elements of flipped classroom, for example, by using videos, by using remote communication, etc. That would not have been, let's say, generalized in a generalized way acceptable before. So this is definitely contributing, and it is guaranteed that we are going to also include expertise from the companies, the ones that are also, you know, in a different continent at all, okay, into the interaction with the students and in the participation in the projects in this way. So this is absolutely essential.
And just for, you know, I won't take much more of your time, but in relation to course sizes and different things, what's the kind of projection for 2022?
Tiziana, do you want to take that? Yeah.
So we are going to start with a small group, so probably 20, 25 students, and then scaling up to about 75, 80 along the course of 4 years. And the reason is actually that because of this intensive tutoring and management and monitoring, so to say, that we have also during the residencies, basically we cannot scale to larger numbers in a responsible way. And JJ, maybe about the residencies and how they...
Yeah, so the residencies, given that they constitute 45% of the course, so we need a large portfolio or a large collection of residency partners to work with us in that, given that a student has 5 residencies, each between 3 and 6 months during the 4 years. So this requires a lot of behind the scenes support, for example, for residencies, industry coordinators that remain connected with students throughout every day of their residencies, etc. So scaling up this is going to require a lot of significant funding, and not all of that funding is available through the HEA or the government currently, hence the need for philanthropic donations and for companies to sponsor residencies.
Yeah, no, it's a massive undertaking. I can imagine the coordinating of ensuring people get the right places, the right companies are, you know, have the right people to manage. You know, they're still 18 to 22-year-olds going into a professional environment. It's going to be a difficult, you know, the year before they were sitting in a school of 30 people. You know, next they're sitting on the scrum team going, okay, what do I do?
Can I add to that, Gavin, how I was, I suppose, initially a little surprised how receptive companies are to that, especially if you think at the end of first year. We have the blocks designed so that students will be capable of onboarding and embedding in a constructive and productive manner. But it's a bit ambitious, and yet companies have been very positively disposed to that, very receptive, and they can't wait to commit to it as well. So if you think about a team lead in a software engineering context, working maybe 2 hours a day for the first few weeks with a resident, and all the companies have said yes to that.
Yeah, it's you know, I've been on site in tech companies. That, you know, I've recruited them for years. That they're crying out for what else, because it's a, you know, even leaving cert coding into, or computer engineering. You know, I mentioned this before the podcast, how I spoke to a person that was in the same course I was and graduated 15 years later and still had the same type of course content. You know, it is an evolution is needed on how we teach, and there's so many companies out there now that are chomping at the bit to get involved in this, as in, you know, online coding companies like Code Institute that have developed software to validate home education and things like that. So it's you know, I can only see the positives for this, but I'm guessing, and I don't like finishing on negatives, but we'll try and turn it around. I'm guessing there was a bit of pushback from traditionalists who felt that this mightn't be the right way to kind of evolve ICT courses, or how we get more graduates to market.
Well, certainly. I mean, we have got a lot of you know, positive feedback, etc. But we also have got questions. So how are you going to make sure that the quality is the same? How are you going to make sure that this and that, etc., etc.? So this is definitely a matter that we are taking very seriously. What we know is that if we are connecting the contents to the leading edge knowledge in terms of research and best practice in companies that are forward looking, okay, we can actually give a completely different relevance of education to these students, because I mean, they join the program and they are going to go out after 4 years. So I mean, an IT cycle nowadays is less than 3 years, right? So we need actually to go, you know, start from today and look into the future, and basically also you know, choose the technologies and the principles and what is relevant with this you know, medium to long term perspective, instead of you know, just building on tradition. Foundations are important, but foundations that are relevant.
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it as pushback, Gavin. I think all the colleagues have been incredibly supportive, and they've offered very constructive critique through elongated discussions where they've brought laser focus and a detailed analysis to it. So we're very grateful for all the support we've got within the department, but also within the faculty in UL. The approvals process at UL is multi-stage. I think we counted, Tiziana, as approximately 9 various stages you go through in order to become accredited. And at each stage, we were subject to forensic type analysis, which was we were very grateful for.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's a game changer for, you know, down the line, my kids going to school, where they're going to be educated long term. It's brilliant, and I'm delighted that it's come to market. And massive congratulations to yourselves and to UL to being the pioneers of it. So no, thanks a mil for your time today. It was really nice getting to know more about the course. Tiziana, JJ, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Gavin. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Gavin.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
No problem. So that was Tiziana and JJ Collins from University Limerick talking about the immersive software engineering program. It's such a game changer in relation to how we teach computers or engineering in third level. It's going to be it's a real flag bearing moment for Ireland, and how we attract talent into Ireland and how we teach our talent. Thanks a mil for listening, and speak to you soon. As always, sign up. And that was Tiziana Margaria and JJ Collins from University Limerick's Immersive Software Engineering program, which goes live in 2022. It's such an amazing program. It's a massive game changer for Ireland in how we teach engineering computers, and the quality of graduates that we get out of our college system. If you enjoyed that, please sign up, please subscribe to our YouTube, our LinkedIn, and our podcast on our streaming services. Speak to you soon. Thank you.